Let's go. Today, I'm going to bring you 5 tips to learn how to swim when you're not that good. I grew up dodging swimming lessons. You honestly couldn't tell me apart from a camel that got lost at his local pool. Now, in Australia, you pretty much have to learn how to swim. It happens in all high school where we're surrounded by water. You need to learn how to swim. I was the fat kid, so of course, naturally, I didn't want to get my top off, and I dodged every swimming lesson. As a consequence, I don't know how to swim. However, fast forward to today, and I've always wanted to do a full Ironman. For all you guys who don't know, full Ironman consists of a 3.8k swim, a 180k bike ride, and a full marathon. Now, at first, there was serious doubt as to whether or not I would make the cutoff. But look, I trained, I learned, and despite not knowing how to swim 100 meters before I started, I got there, I learned how to swim, and I completed that Ironman, despite the swim being cancelled. But look, that's a story for another day. I can swim now, and here's 5 tips on how I got there. Tip numéro 1, get a teacher. This was the turning point in my learning to swim journey. I was struggling for ages, just trying to practice over and over again, hoping that eventually I would get better. You'd heard the adage, practice makes perfect, but in reality, only perfect practice makes perfect. That's why you need a teacher, to not practice the wrong things and make your practice perfect. So I found a coach, the mighty John Van Vees. If a guy can swim the English Channel and across Loch Ness, he probably knows a thing or two about swimming. Find a legend in your local area and it will go a long way into teaching you how to swim. He fixed very small things like breathing to my better side, because when I breathed to my non-dominant side, it threw off my stroke. Upping my cadence a bit, because I was very, very slow being a big lad, just very, very slow arms, using a more front quadrant stroke. But the single best thing that he improved moves us on to tip number 2, stop kicking. What? That's backwards, right? Surely. You think stop kicking. You look at all these Olympic athletes and their legs are going like this, turbo mode, and they can go extremely fast. But you've got to remember, I'm not an Olympic athlete. I tried doing that and it honestly just gassed me out. Now, even though I'm not an Olympic athlete, we can probably draw inspiration from the GOAT of Olympic athletes, Katie Ledecky. She's one of the most decorated swimmers of all time, 14 medals, 9 gold. And what does she do when she swims? A 1 to 2 beat kick. She's able to slow her heart rate down doing this 1 to 2 beat kick, and she's able to go the distance. We can draw inspiration from that. When I stopped kicking, swimming became easier. I could finally progress. Now, my legs sink if I stop kicking, so I got one of these things, a pool boy. Now, because I'm a big boy, I got the Big Boy brand pool boy. A wetsuit also really helps too when you're in open water. Besides, when you're doing something like an Ironman, you have to save your legs for the bike and the run. So not kicking can actually be a plus. It's like progressive overload outside of the weight room. We just have to build up over time, and eventually we will learn how to swim. This takes us to tip number 3, practice, practice, practice. I swam when I was training for the Ironman 3 times a week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Monday was a bit more of a endurance-based session that was often done at a lower intensity just to recover from the run and the ride. Wednesday was squad, where we had like a more varied high-intensity workout. And then Friday was open water, just to get practice in the open water. Now, honestly, 3 times a week is actually pretty light. If you really want to practice and get better at a skill, you need to do it often. You need to do it often. So 5 days a week can work for you. Find a plan that helps keep it interesting, keep it fun, use more strokes other than freestyle to help reduce those overuse injuries. Combine this with coaching and you'll improve way faster. Tip number 4, join a squad. Let's be honest, swimming can be so boring. You're just looking down at that black line for the whole session. It can drive you mad. There's not a lot to visually grasp onto. Joining a squad can fix that. The workouts are more interesting. They're often a bit more challenging. There's a lot of variety, and you get to interact with a lot of different athletes. So it's good for the social aspect. You can also glean tips from all of these athletes. And each one of these swimmers, you can learn something new from them every single week. If you're around Bayside in Melbourne, I'd highly recommend going to John Van Vies's squad. You can learn a thing or two from the legend himself, and he brings the lolly snakes every week. Our last tip number 5, and that is to stay humble. This tip is more to do with your mindset rather than the actual practice of swimming and can be applied anywhere. They say that in order to succeed, you have to focus on your strengths. This can work. This can work in a lot of different fields of life. But if we are to cultivate that growth mindset, that lifelong learner mindset, I'd say it's more advantageous to focus on the weaknesses. Focus on, where can I learn? How can I become better? Keep that white belt mindset and always learn. Be really proud of how far you've come. I'm proud of how far I've come in learning how to swim. But always look ahead. Look ahead and continue to learn all throughout your life. Thanks for sticking around. If you're new here, subscribe for more tips helping the average Joe navigate everything to do with life and fitness and health. Drop a comment, leave a like, and I'll see you on the next one.